This video is about the mom sat inside the playground and a millionaire held the door for her. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. The afternoon sun filtered through the leaves of the sprawling oaks that surrounded Maplewood Park, casting dappled shadows on the ground. Children's laughter echoed against the playground equipment, a symphony of joy that felt foreign to Clara in that moment. She sat on a bench, her faded jeans crumpling beneath her, the fabric worn and soft from countless washes. Her hair, pulled back in a loose bun, was streaked with the remnants of her once vibrant red hue, now dulled by time and the demands of motherhood. Clara's gaze drifted to her son, Lucas, climbing the jungle gym with a determination that mirrored her own struggles. At 6 years old, he was a whirlwind of energy, his bright eyes sparkling with adventure. Yet, as she watched him, a wave of sadness washed over her. She had promised herself she would always be there for him, yet the weight of her responsibilities often felt like a leaden cloak. "Mom, look at me!" Lucas shouted, his laughter ringing out as he teetered on the edge of one of the slides. "Be careful," she called back, her heart clenching at every small risk he took. It was a delicate balance, encouraging his independence while hoping desperately to protect him from the world's harsh realities. Just as Lucas launched himself down the slide, a tall figure stepped into her line of sight. Clara's brow furrowed as she took in the man standing at the entrance of the playground. He was impeccably dressed in a tailored navy suit, his dark hair slightly tousled yet effortlessly stylish, as if he had just walked out of a magazine. "Excuse me," he said, his voice smooth and rich like dark chocolate. "Would you like me to hold the gate for you?" For a moment, Clara blinked in surprise, taken aback by his presence and the unexpected kindness. She could feel her cheeks flush slightly, not from embarrassment, but from something decidedly more complicated. "That is very kind of you," she replied, her voice unsteady, "but it's just me and my son." The man offered a warm smile, one that crinkled the corners of his eyes. "Even so, holding doors is a skill I take pride in," he said playfully, stepping closer. The scent of his cologne, fresh and earthy, wafted through the air, momentarily distracting her from her worries. "Right, well, thank you," she said, her heart racing slightly. There was something magnetic about him, an inexplicable pull that made her feel both flattered and wary. "I am Ethan," he said, extending his hand, which was an astonishing contrast to the playground's chaotic energy. "Clara," she replied, shaking his hand. His grip was firm but gentle, and she felt a jolt of electricity at the contact, as if the world around them had faded into the background. "Your son seems to be having a great time," Ethan remarked, his gaze shifting to Lucas, who was now engaged in an elaborate game with a group of kids. "He is," Clara said, pride swelling in her chest. "He is a little daredevil." "It is great to see kids so fearless," Ethan mused, his tone thoughtful. "I remember being that age, feeling invincible." Clara chuckled lightly, remembering her own childhood. "And then you grow up, and suddenly the world feels heavy." Ethan's expression shifted slightly, a flicker of understanding passing through his eyes. "I get that," he replied, his voice dropping to a softer tone. "Responsibilities can crush the spirit if you let them." She raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "And what kind of responsibilities do you have?" "I run a tech startup," he said casually, though there was a glint of pride in his eyes. "It keeps me busy, that is for sure, but I get to create things, which makes it worth it." "Must be nice," Clara replied, a hint of wistfulness coloring her tone. "I used to have dreams of my own before." Her voice trailed off, memories of her past life colliding with her present. He nodded knowingly, a hint of sympathy in his gaze. "Before life happened?" "Exactly," she said with a small, self-deprecating laugh. "It is easy to lose sight of who you are in the process of being everything for everyone else." Ethan's expression softened further, and Clara felt her heart flutter with a connection that was building. "You know, it is never too late to rediscover yourself," he said earnestly, tilting his head slightly. "Maybe," she replied, her heart racing. "But I have a son to think about first." "Yes, that is true," he replied, his tone shifting to a more serious note. "But your happiness matters too, don't you forget that." Clara studied him for a moment, caught off guard by the depth of his words. "You sound like you've been through a lot," she said quietly. His smile faded slightly, replaced by a fleeting shadow that crossed his features. "I have my own struggles, we all do." Before the silence could thicken, Lucas came barreling toward them, his face flushed with excitement. "Mom, did you see me?" "I did, you were amazing," Clara exclaimed, wrapping her arm around him as he beamed with pride. Ethan crouched down to Lucas's level. "You're a natural-born adventurer, aren't you?" Lucas nodded enthusiastically, and for a brief moment, the three of them shared a bubble of joy that felt like a small family unit untouched by the outside world. "Thanks," Lucas said shyly, his cheeks pink from the exertion. "I want to be a superhero when I grow up." "Superheroes do need to be brave," Ethan replied, his gaze flickering back to Clara. "And it takes strength to be a good mom, like yours." Clara felt her cheeks heat once more under his gaze, her heart racing as she caught the undertones of flirtation laced within his words. "Well, I am trying my best," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan held her gaze for a moment longer, the air between them thick with unspoken tension. Clara could feel the lingering sparks in the space separating them, a magnetic pull that both excited and terrified her. "Clara, would you and Lucas like to join me for ice cream sometime?" he asked, the casual tone of his invitation making her heart skip. She hesitated, thoughts starting through her mind. It felt like a reckless idea, one that could lead to complications she was not ready for. "Only if you be comfortable," he added quickly, his smile faltering slightly at her hesitation. "No, it is not that," she started, but Lucas chimed in, his excitement bubbling over. "Can we, Mom, please? I want to hang out with Ethan." She bit her lip, torn between wanting to foster that connection and the fear of stepping into uncharted territory. "Okay, let us see," she said finally, her heart pounding. "Maybe we can make it a plan." "Great." Ethan's face brightened, his eyes sparkling with genuine delight. But as Clara watched the light return to his expression, a small voice of doubt crept into her mind. Was she ready for this? The flirtation, the chemistry? And what if Lucas bonded with Ethan, only for it to lead to a bitter disappointment? "Just so you know," Ethan said, breaking her train of thought, "I am a pretty fun guy. I promise you won't regret it." His confidence was intoxicating, and she caught herself smiling despite her reservations. "I'll hold you to that," she replied, her heartbeat quickening as she realized just how much she wanted to believe him. As they exchanged small talk, Clara felt the weight of her world ease, if only for a moment. The playground, with its laughter and innocence, seemed to shimmer around them, the promise of something new hanging in the air. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting hues of orange and pink across the horizon, Clara felt a mixture of warmth and apprehension settle within her. The laughter of children filled the air, yet the laughter of adults seemed a world apart, and she found herself longing for companionship that felt almost foreign. "I really hope you like chocolate," Ethan said, his eyes dancing with mischief, breaking her from her thoughts. He leaned slightly closer, the playful glimmer in his gaze drawing her in like a moth to a flame. "I happen to know the best ice cream place in town." "Chocolate is my son's favorite," Clara replied, a smile tugging at her lips despite her momentary hesitance. "I used to love it too." "Oh?" Ethan raised an eyebrow, his interest piqued. "What happened to the chocolate-loving Clara?" "Oh, she got lost somewhere between work, motherhood, and life." The words slipped from her lips before she could stop them, and Clara felt the rush of vulnerability. "Life can be a thief, can't it?" Ethan murmured softly. "But chocolate is a good way to reclaim a piece of it." Clara chuckled, her heart fluttering at the sweet, subtle flirtation embedded in his words. "That's one way to look at it." As Lucas darted back to them, still breathless from playing, the conversation turned back to the innocent joys of childhood. "Can we get sprinkles on top, Mom?" he pleaded, his bright eyes wide with excitement. "Of course," she replied, brushing a stray hair from her face. The innocence in his request served as a reminder of her responsibility, but a small part of her yearned to step outside the confines of routine. "If we go, I'll let you pick out the toppings." "Yeah." Lucas squealed with delight, his laughter mingling with the sounds of the playground. Ethan beamed at Lucas, and Clara couldn't help but notice the way he knelt to meet the boy at eye level, the sincerity in his smile palpable. "You're going to have to show me the best way to decorate that ice cream, Lucas. Superheroes need to eat well." "Superheroes also need to be strong," Lucas declared, puffing out his little chest, and Clara felt a swell of pride. "Absolutely," Ethan replied, his voice rich with warmth. "What is your secret to being strong, Lucas?" "Oh." Lucas frowned, deep in thought, clearly considering the weight of such an important question. "I'd eat my vegetables." Clara laughed, the tension in her shoulders easing momentarily. "And what else?" "I practice my karate moves," Lucas exclaimed, bouncing on the balls of his feet, his passion igniting with every word. "Karate, that is impressive. You know, I can even tie a belt properly," Ethan teased, glancing mock seriously at Clara. "What belt do you think I'd be?" "Probably a white belt," Clara shot back, a playful glint in her eyes. "But you'd be an impressive one, I am sure." Hey, she protested, feigning offense. The laughter they shared felt intoxicating, a reminder of the lightness that was so often overshadowed by her worries. Okay, a yellow belt, maybe? Clara offered, her voice teasing. A yellow belt it is, I'll take it as a compliment, he replied, his expression light, but there was a flicker of something deeper in his eyes as they met hers. The air grew thick with unspoken words, and Clara felt a familiar flutter in the pit of her stomach. Let us go. Then I want to beat you both to the ice cream, Lucas announced, darting toward the playground exit with the kind of energy only a child could possess. Hey, wait for us, Clara called, following behind him, but her heart lingered on the unspoken connection she felt with Ethan. As they walked side by side, Clara stole glances at him, appreciating the way the setting sun illuminated the angles of his face, the quiet confidence he exuded, and the warmth emanating from him. Yet, as her heart danced with possibilities, doubt clung like a shadow. Are you really okay with all this? She asked, her voice softer now, the playful banter replaced by a hint of seriousness. I mean spending time with us. Why wouldn't he, Abby? Ethan replied, his expression earnest. I enjoy it, kids bring out the best in me. Do they? She raised an eyebrow, intrigued. What about your work? Work is rewarding, but there's something refreshing about being around children. They remind me to be present, to enjoy life, he said quietly, a hint of vulnerability breaking through his composed exterior. Then you're real lucky, Clara said, her voice barely above a whisper. I feel like I am always getting pulled in a million directions. Sometimes I forget how to just enjoy a moment. Ethan turned to her, the intensity of his gaze bringing her to a halt. Clara, it is easy to forget, especially when you are so focused on taking care of others, but it is also important to take care of yourself. You deserve to enjoy life too. His words hit her like a soft wave, crashing against the shore but leaving her feeling lighter somehow. Thanks, she said, her heart racing at the depth of their conversation. It is just hard to believe that. I understand, he replied, his tone low and sincere. But I think you can find a way, you just have to be open to trying. As they approached the ice cream shop, a familiar bell jingled above the door, signaling their arrival. Clara hesitated briefly, her mind swirling with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Was she really ready to take this step? To allow Ethan into their lives? Let us go, Lucas shouted, already bounding toward the counter, clearly oblivious to the complex emotions swelling around him. Coming. Clara replied, forcing a smile as she followed him inside, the cool air a welcome reprieve from the warmth outside. Ethan joined her at the counter, and as they studied the menu, Clara couldn't shake the feeling of anticipation that thrummed in the air between them. So, what is your go-to flavor? He asked, glancing sideways at her, his voice slight yet playful. Definitely chocolate, Clara replied, feeling a sense of ease in their shared moment. And maybe a scoop of mint chocolate chip for good measure. Mint chocolate chip, huh? Bold choice, he teased, a smile dancing on his lips. And what about you? She asked, her curiosity piqued. Surprisingly, I am a fan of vanilla, he said with a grin. But I like to mix in a little everything chocolate sprinkles, maybe even caramel just for fun. Vanilla? That is your favorite? You are a simple man at heart, she challenged playfully. Maybe so, he replied, an intensity flickering behind his eyes. But I am not opposed to trying new things. Their eyes locked for a moment, and Clara felt the weight of unspoken possibilities stretching between them. As they ordered, Lucas bounced impatiently, his excitement palpable. The ice cream was soon in hand, and they headed outside to a small picnic table. Lucas immediately claimed a seat, meticulously arranging his sprinkles like they were treasure. Look, Mom, it is a rainbow, he shouted, beaming with pride as he held up his cup. Impressive work, champ, Clara praised, her heart swelling with affection. Ethan took a seat across from Clara, his expression softening as he watched the interaction. Looks like you've got a superhero in the making, he remarked, a mix of admiration and something deeper in his voice. Yes, but superheroes need their sidekicks too, Clara replied, her gaze flickering back to Ethan. What about you? Any sidekicks in your life? A shadow crossed his face for an instant before he regained composure. Not at the moment, just me and my work mostly, it can be lonely. Lonely? Clara could feel her heartache at the thought. That is a shame, you seem like a great person to be around. Thanks, he said quietly, his eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. But I guess I've been focusing too much on my career. It is easier to build things than to connect with people. Clara felt a strange mix of longing and empathy. You're not alone now, she said softly. You have us. his expressions softened at her words, and for a brief moment, Clara felt a powerful connection that transcended their circumstances. But then, the spell was broken as Lucas erupted into laughter, accidentally dropping a scoop of his ice cream, which splattered onto the ground. "Oh," he giggled, his innocent laughter filling the air. "Looks like someone's going to be a little sticky," Clara remarked, shaking her head with a smile. Ethan chuckled, clearly charmed by the boy's enthusiasm. "Looks like we need to keep a better eye on this little superhero." Clara couldn't help but grin at the way Ethan interacted with Lucas, warmth filling her chest. But as the laughter continued, a flicker of doubt returned. Did she really want to let someone in? The tight-knit world she had built around her and Lucas. The thought caught at the edges of her mind, but she quickly shoved it away, reminding herself to live in the moment. "Mom, can I have a bite of your ice cream?" Lucas asked, his eyes wide with hope and just a hint of mischief. "Only if you share some of yours," Clara replied, her tone light but with an undercurrent of seriousness. "Deal," he shouted, gleefully extending his cup toward her. Clara took a small spoonful, savoring the combination of chocolate and mint on her tongue. "Wow, that's good," she exclaimed, feigning surprise. "How did you make such a perfect creation?" "I am a superhero, remember?" Lucas giggled, his laughter infectious. Ethan watched the exchange, a smile dancing on his lips. "Well, you're definitely a genius, Lucas, but superheroes can't forget their sidekicks. They need to work together." "Exactly," Lucas shouted, clearly reveling in the praise. "What is your superhero name, Ethan?" Let us see." Ethan paused dramatically, tapping his chin. "How about the Ice Cream Crusader?" "Yeah." Lucas clapped his hands together, clearly delighted at the thought. "You can save the world with ice cream." Clara chuckled, unable to resist the warmth that spread through her chest at their camaraderie. "Just imagine, the Ice Cream Crusader swoops in to save the day with delicious scoops and sprinkles." Ethan leaned forward, clearly enjoying the moment. "And we could have a secret ice cream lair, right?" "Totally," Lucas exclaimed, bouncing in his seat. "And we could have a giant ice cream machine." Clara watched as the two of them began to brainstorm their imaginary world, the innocence of their laughter contrasting with her flooded thoughts. Watching Ethan interact so easily with Lucas ignited a spark of something in her, an ache for connection she had almost forgotten. But as she reveled in the joy of the moment, a tiny voice in her mind whispered cautions. What would happen if Lucas grew attached? What if this was just a fleeting encounter for Ethan? "Clara!" Ethan's voice broke through her thoughts, pulling her back to reality. "What is your superhero name?" She blinked at him, a bit flustered. "Me? I'm my auntie now, the Mama Bear." "Mama Bear," Lucas echoed, giggling. "That's perfect, you protect everyone." Ethan's gaze softened as he studied her. "Mama Bear has a nice ring to it, but I think there is more to you than just that." The sincerity in his voice sent a shiver down Clara's spine. She wanted to argue, to point out the limitations of her identity, but instead she found herself reflecting on the truth in his words. Before she could respond, Lucas piped up, "I bet Mama Bear has secret powers too." "Oh, absolutely," Clara replied, grateful for the distraction. "Mama Bear can make the best chocolate chip cookies." "Cookies!" Lucas exclaimed, and his eyes lit up with excitement. "We need to get some soon." "Yes, we do," Clara laughed, feeling a warmth expand in her chest. The laughter settled around them like a comforting blanket, but beneath the surface, a different kind of tension brewed between her and Ethan. As the conversation flowed, Clara caught Ethan's stealing glances at her, a mixture of admiration and something deeper swirling in his expression. The way he looked at her made her acutely aware of how badly she craved connection. "What about you, Ethan? What is your hidden power?" Clara asked, her voice teasing but laced with genuine curiosity. His grin widened, revealing a mischievous side she hadn't seen before. "Well, I can cook a mean lasagna," he replied, feigning seriousness. "But I think my real power lies in making ice cream disappear." "Is that a power or a skill?" she challenged playfully. "A skill, probably," he admitted, leaning back in his seat, eyes twinkling. "But one I take very seriously." "Well, we may have to test your skills more thoroughly sometime," Clara suggested, her voice softening, the moment stretching between them. "Count me in, I'll bring the lasagna if you bring the cookies," he replied, the warmth in his gaze deepening. Just then, Lucas interrupted with a dramatic sigh. "Can we just eat our ice cream already?" Yes, let us begin," Clara exclaimed, shaking off the weight of the moment as she took a bite of her ice cream. Ethan lifted his cup and took a generous spoonful, his eyes sparkling with appreciation. This is good, but you know what it is missing. What? She asked, her brow furrowing in confusion. Just a sprinkle of adventure, he replied, his voice low and teasing, the air thick with the implications of his words. Clara felt her pulse quicken as their eyes locked again. Adventure, huh? I suppose I am in desperate need of some. Then let us start with small adventures, he suggested, leaning in slightly. A simple evening of ice cream, who knows where it can lead? The way he said it sent a rush of warmth through her. The possibilities were intoxicating, almost dizzying. You make it sound easy. It can be, or it can be a challenge. It all depends on how you look at it, he replied, his voice earnest, the tension between them building once more. Maybe I need to change my perspective then, Clara said, her heart racing. Ethan hesitated, an intensity flickering in his gaze that made her breath hitch. I think you do. You deserve to find joy in the little things. As Clara opened her mouth to respond, Lucas called out again, breaking the moment. Look, Mom, I am almost done. Great job, buddy. Clara smiled, but suddenly felt the weight of reality pressing down. Ethan shifted in his seat, clearly catching the shift in her emotions. You know, I didn't mean to pressure you into anything. No, but it's not that, she replied hurriedly, not wanting him to think she was shying away. I want to do right by Lucas. I don't want to mess things up. His expression softened, and he paused as if mulling over her words. I completely understand. It is a big responsibility, but you can't be afraid to let people in, Clara. I know that, she sighed, feeling more vulnerable than she intended. It is just difficult. It can be, he agreed, his tone gentle, almost soothing. But isn't it worth the risk? Maybe, she whispered, her heart pounding in her chest. Just then, Lucas jumped up, his cup nearly slipping from his hands. Ice cream battle, who can finish first? Challenge accepted. Ethan declared, the shift in his demeanor lightening the mood. Clara couldn't help but laugh as the two of them dove into their cups, their banter echoing across the empty picnic area. It was heartwarming to watch them, a reminder of the simple joys that life could offer. She felt a hint of jealousy as she watched them, a flicker of that earlier doubt resurfacing. Was she keeping Lucas from a potential father figure? And what if things didn't work out with Ethan? Come on, Clara, you've got to join. Ethan called out, a playful glint in his eye as he challenged her. With a deep breath, Clara pushed her worries aside and joined them in the playful competition. Fine, but I want to go easy on you. Laughter erupted as they all raced to finish their ice cream, the tension melting away like the treats in their cups. Clara felt a sense of freedom, a release of the burden she had carried for so long. In that moment, as they raced against one another and laughed, she couldn't help but acknowledge that perhaps opening up could lead to a more colorful life. Maybe Ethan could be a part of that adventure. Maybe. But as she glanced at him, catching the warmth in his expression, she reminded herself to take it one step at a time. The ice cream battle quickly descended into a joyful chaos, Lucas giggling uncontrollably as he clumsily attempted to finish his treat. Clara could hardly contain her laughter as she joined in, the light-hearted competition providing a momentary escape from her swelling thoughts. Come on, Mom, you be losing. Lucas cheered, his face smeared with chocolate and sprinkles, becoming the very picture of childhood delight. I am just savoring every bite. Clara protested playfully, her heart swelling with fondness at her son's enthusiasm. She stole a glance at Ethan, who was halfway through his cup with an exaggerated look of determination. Don't let him distract you, he said between spoonfuls, his eyes glinting with mischief. Focus on the goal, deliciousness. Oh, is that the goal? Clara shot back, raising an eyebrow playfully. I thought it was just about finishing first. Both can be true, Ethan replied, a teasing smile dancing on his lips. But I've got a secret weapon. Oh, really? Clara challenged, leaning in as if she were about to unveil the most profound mystery. Yeah, I am really good at eating ice cream, he said with mock seriousness. You can underestimate the strategic advantage of being a millionaire with access to all the best flavors. Clara laughed, her heart lightening. So that is what the secret is, I should be known. Lucas, catching the banter, threw his head back in laughter. Go, Mum, you can do it. Fueled by their encouragement, Clara took another big spoonful, determined not to be outdone by the two of them. But as the sugary concoction melted on her tongue, she felt something shift in the atmosphere around them. Ethan's gaze lingered on her, his eyes warm and inviting, as if he were seeing more than just a mother battling for ice cream supremacy. There was something there, a spark she had felt ever since he had first walked into the playground. It sent a thrill coursing through her, leaving her breathless. Okay, I am just going to have to double my efforts, Clara said, shaking off the momentary distraction. Good idea. Lucas cheered, and they all dove back into their cups, laughter and friendly teasing filling the air around them. As Clara savored her ice cream, she couldn't ignore the pleasant ache in her chest, the sense of belonging that was blooming between them. She was used to solitude, navigating life with just Lucas by her side, yet suddenly the idea of allowing another person in felt tantalizingly close. Okay, I think I am winning, Ethan exclaimed dramatically, his cup held aloft like a trophy as he feigned triumph. No way, I still have a whole scoop left, Clara retorted, her competitive spirit ignited. Yeah, and it is melting, Lucas reminded her, his eyes wide with excitement. All right, I can let the young superhero down, Clara said, and she took a deep breath before tackling the remainder of her ice cream. Ethan watched her, the admiration clear in his eyes. You're not just a mama bear, you're a force of nature, he called out, laughter bubbling in his voice. Clara felt her cheeks heat at his compliment, a spoon faltering for a moment as a rush of warmth spread through her. Don't flatter me too much, or I might think you were trying to charm me, she teased, shooting him a playful look. Is it working? He shot back with a grin, and the tension between them shifted, hanging in the air like a tantalizing promise. Maybe, she replied, her heart racing as she met his gaze, realizing how easily their playful banter had turned into something more. Finally, with a final scoop of determination, Clara set down her cup, victorious, as Lucas burst into applause. You did it, Mom, you finished first. Ethan pretended to sigh dramatically, leaning back in his seat in mock defeat. You've clearly taken the title of ice cream champion. I'll have to train harder for our next match. Next match? I am not sure I can handle that. Clara laughed, her heart still fluttering from the game and the charged moment they had shared. Maybe we should make it a tradition, Lucas suggested enthusiastically. Every weekend, ice cream battles. Ethan chuckled, but Clara felt a twinge of hesitation. Could she really commit to something like that? The idea of a weekend ritual with Ethan sent a mix of excitement and fear tumbling through her. Maybe, Clara said cautiously, her mind racing. But we should probably start with just one time. Ethan caught her gaze, concern flickering in his eyes. Of course, no pressure, he assured her, the warmth of his voice soothing her inner turmoil. But just know, I am always up for an ice cream adventure. Me too. Lucas chimed in, oblivious to the undercurrents of emotions swirling between the adults. Clara smiled at her son, the weight of the world lifting a little. Okay, one adventure at a time, right? Right, Ethan agreed, and she felt the unspoken bond between them solidify in that moment. As they finished their ice cream, the laughter and joy around them began to quieten, and Clara felt a pang of reluctance. This outing had ignited something new within her, a sense of possibility that had been buried for too long. But the reality of her responsibilities loomed, a jagged reminder of the life she had carved for herself. Maybe we should head back, she suggested, glancing at her watch. It's getting late. Lucas groaned. But I don't want to leave, I am having fun. I know, buddy, but we can stay out all night, Clara said gently, her heart aching a little. Ethan's gaze softened as he turned to Lucas. How about I walk you both to your car? I'll make sure no ice cream monsters sneak up on you. Lucas's face lit up at the idea, and Clara felt a rush of warmth at Ethan's thoughtfulness. That would be nice, thanks, she said, her heart racing at the thought of him walking beside them. As they strolled back through the park, the sun dipped beneath the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Clara felt a strange mix of exhilaration and anxiety coursing through her. What's next for superhero Lucas? Ethan asked, crouching down to match the boy's pace. I want to save the world, Lucas exclaimed, his little fist pumping in the air. And I need a sidekick. Count me in, Ethan replied, a grin spreading across his face. I am great at defending against ice cream monsters. Clara chuckled, feeling the joy of the moment wash over her like a warm tide. But as they neared her car, the laughter faded, and a silence settled between her and Ethan, heavier than before. Thank you for today, I really needed it, she said, her voice softening. Ethan turned to her, his expression serious. I am glad, I really enjoyed spending time with you and Lucas. Me too, Clara admitted, her heart racing once more under his attentive gaze. The way he looked at her sent shivers down her spine, but she felt a flicker of uncertainty surface. How could she open herself up to this? Would it be fair to drag Ethan into her chaotic life? I just want you to know, Ethan started, his voice slow and sincere. I am here if you want to talk or... Clara held up a hand, feeling a wave of panic rise. I need to think about everything. I haven't let anyone in for a long time. His expression shifted, a hint of understanding and disappointment mingling in his eyes. I get it, he said quietly. I don't want to rush you. Thank you, Clara replied, her heart heavy. It's just I am scared of getting hurt again. I don't want Lucas to go through that. And neither do I, Ethan assured her, his voice earnest. But sometimes we have to take risks to find the joy we deserve. Clara held his gaze, feeling the truth in his words, but the fear still gnawed at her. I know, it is just hard. I understand, he said softly. I'll be here, whenever you be ready. Their eyes locked, and in that moment, Clara could feel the unspoken connection between them, a spark that hinted at something more profound. But as she took a deep breath, the weight of her responsibilities pulled her back to reality. Let us take it slow, she said finally, her voice trembling just slightly. Absolutely, Ethan agreed, a smile breaking through the tension. I'll look forward to our next adventure. Me too, Clara replied, her heart swelling with a mix of gratitude and longing. As they reached her car, Lucas bounded ahead, still caught up in the excitement of the day. Clara stole one last glance at Ethan, and she couldn't help but feel that today had been a turning point, a moment of possibility, a glimpse